says, Washington sensed that a new type of human being had been planted on the rich soil of North America. This had all the markings of a providential scheme. The Americans had tremendous, almost explosive energy. They were dynamic and determined, a people who wanted a better life and would stop at nothing to get it. Washington went on to say he further believed, if the Americans did not become completely free and happy, the fault will be entirely their own. So I'd like to turn it over to Amar, and 200 years later, you've written this great book, kind of about some of these aspects of America, and perhaps you can introduce kind of the framework, the research, and what you think it really points to.
Okay, so the metaphor that I use in this book is of innovation as a massively multiplayer game, taking place at several levels, but involving a very large proportion of the population. So there is, particularly in people who put together tables like that, I don't know how this particular table was put together, a tendency to look at innovation merely in terms of scientific breakthroughs, or merely in terms of the invention of new gizmos, or in terms of patent counts, when in fact the economic and human value of innovation arises when all of us in widely varying ways participate and derive benefit from advances in technology. So technological advances take place at multiple levels. So for instance, if you think of your laptop and the microprocessor in it, certainly at the highest level there are the laws of solid-state physics, which won 3 guys the Nobel Prize. But just those laws would not a functioning laptop make. Below that level, you also need more prosaic, more sort of context-specific knowledge of circuit design. Even that's not enough. You need the knowledge of the person running a semiconductor plant, who knows how to tinker with that plant to get a high level of yield. And this is just as far as technological knowledge goes. Technological knowledge is not enough for innovation. You also need innovations in sales and marketing. Many people think of sales and marketing as a parasitical function, when it is in fact an essential part of technological progress. And you also often need innovations in management and in business models. So clearly the railroads transformed America and turned it from a set of small local economies into a giant national economy. This was underpinned, no doubt, by advances in locomotive technology. But it also required the invention of a vast set of organizations and managerial techniques, which if you read Alfred Chandler, you would learn did not exist before the 1860s. So it's a game which is which if it's good draws us all into it. It's also a game which makes us all innovators to the degree that we are all afforded some degree of autonomy and some opportunity to use our imaginations and to interact with other people who are also so using their imaginations. Not to get into the financial system, but I would simply say as an aside, one of the problems with the financial system is that it lacked, or it progressively lacked, this decentralized autonomous judgment, and it went progressively towards a more centralized system of finance. But that's a topic for another day. What I would like to emphasize here is that if you put aside the financial system, which was a pathology, and it was a pathology both in terms of the resources that it consumed, and the fact that it was utterly incongruent with this decentralized innovativeness, which is so central to American prosperity. If you put that aside, the rest of the game is in fantastic shape, I think. there has not been a time in history when so many of us, not everyone, but so many of us are in some way, shape or form innovating. So if we may not be developing spreadsheets or we may not be developing computers, we are using spreadsheets, and we're not using spreadsheets the way a farmer might use, or a ditch digger might use a pickaxe. We are using spreadsheets and word processors in our own idiosyncratic, resourceful, venturesome ways. We are using iPods in venturesome ways. We are finding new uses for the Kindle, and so whatever these rankings may say, I would assert that there hasn't been a system or an economic system in history before that has afforded so much opportunity to so many individuals to be innovative and somehow knit together their autonomous contributions in a manner that it works for us all. Not all of it. Like I said, there's the big exception of the financial sector. There are segments of the population that are excluded from the innovation game, which is deeply unfortunate. But I am highly optimistic and highly positive that we have a good game.
Great, thank you. Can you comment a little bit, earlier in the book, I think even in the preface, which really grabbed my attention, you described the kind of multi-levels in a little detail, the top level, the R&D, the brainiacs at our great institutions like MIT, but then the mid-level and the ground level. Can you comment on what happens at the mid-level and the ground level, and some of the skills that are happening there, and who these people are? Who are examples of these people? Backgrounds, where they are, what they do?
They're all of us. I mean, they're all of us who don't have PhD degrees in engineering or science, who don't wear white coats, but who take technologies which may have been developed far, far away from us, many levels away, and use our imaginations and our resourcefulness to tweak them a little, and to make the world a better place. There is this notion that all prosperity derives from the guys at the top, the Google guys, or the guy who invented the World Wide Web. So the invention of the World Wide Web was a fantastic breakthrough. By the way, it did not happen in the United States, it happened in Switzerland. But it's the rest of us who've embraced the web in virtually everything that we do. In some cases, we have created products and services around the web. It's Craigslist. Craigslist has nothing to do with computer scientists. It's someone figuring out that there's an opportunity to take this thing called the web and use it to facilitate communication. And then it's the users of Craigslist who are willing to take chances on it, to weave it into our daily lives. And I also say that the kinds of mindset that one needs for this, the kind of education that one needs for this, is very far from the kind of education that people who are science fanatics would want us to pursue. And I got into this argument with a medical researcher just 2 or 3 days ago, and she said, "We've got to teach our students more math and science." And I said, "Look, you know, I don't think I've ever used trigonometry in my life, and I would bet that 99% of the people in this room have never used trigonometry." And so to say that overworked children who get monumental amounts of homework as it is, if they go to good schools, if they go to bad schools, it's a different matter, then it's not a math problem. What do you want to have them learn less of? Do you want them to have them to be less capable of communicating their thoughts, less capable of exercising their imaginations, just so that they can beat the Koreans and the Taiwanese in math Olympiads. And so I think there is this underappreciation of it. I mean, we think of innovation like professional football, where there are a few overgrown, probably drugged out mutants to whom we pay sort of vast sums of money, and then the rest of us sort of flop on our sofas, and it's a spectator sport. It's not a spectator sport. It's we're all active players in a very wide variety of ways, at levels much lower than the levels of where the science may emanate from.